Everyone, I'm Cher, the Shadow Walker, and I'm taking a look at cryptid sightings in the last 48 hours. It's been fairly quiet, so now it's starting to pick up again. And I'm going to start with New Brunswick. And so this one's just going to be straight across Canada, and then I'll do one for the United States. So in New Brunswick, at 10:45 on April 19th, near Kingston Creek area, two local residents returning from work. What they saw was a creature crossing a private gravel road. It did not walk. Oh, sorry, it did not run, but it walked with a heavy, deliberate gait into the dense brush. The witness reported an intense feeling of being watched, and they reported it to a private researcher's log. And in the Caledon Mountains, so it's Caledonia Mountains, at 2:15 on April the 20th, south of Caledonia Mountain Peak, a hiker by themselves witnessed awoke by the sound that described what he heard was a low vibrating growl that felt like it was inside the tent. Upon looking outside, he saw a large bipedal canine silhouette approximately 50 yards away, standing motionless near a rock outcrop. And it stayed for approximately 10 minutes before vanishing back into the bush. And that was a dog man. And in St. John's, a hellhound on April the 20th at 11:30 near a wooded area, and it's the perimeter of Rockwood Park. Three teenagers reported seeing red glowing eyes at knee level in the woodline. The creature let out a sound that they described as not quite a dog, more like a wheeze, and followed the group. So then they said it followed them for roughly 200 meters before they reached the lit parking lot. Bet you they booted it. And they reported it to the park security. And in the Avalon Peninsula of Newfoundland, next, on April the 20th at 9 p.m., this is near the cliffs of Loggy Bay. Two night photographers, while taking long exposure shots, the witnesses saw a large, dark figure with a wingspan estimated at 10 feet. It launched from the cliffs and did not flap its wings, but glided towards the ocean before disappearing into the mist. So that's the Mothman. And they reported it to the local UFO and paranormal registry. And in central Newfoundland, and they call this a thin walker, or a spider humanoid is what I call them, or crawl. At 3:45 on April the 21st, in a remote logging road near Grand Falls/Windsor, it was a truck driver. He saw the creature, multi-jointed, and it was scuttling across the road, and he noted that its movement was fluid like a spider, but it had a human torso, and it moved with extreme speed when the headlights hit it. And he reported it to the National Sightings Database. And in Prince Edward Island, in the Goose River area, a shapeshifter. At 1:15 on April the 20th, and that's AM, a forested perimeter near Goose River property lines, two local residents checking on equipment, a fluid creature was spotted near the tree lines. The witness described it as initially appearing as large, dark canine, but it morphed into a posture of a tall, thin-shaped humanoid before retreating silently into the brush. And no vocalizations were heard, which is consistent with the silent movement patterns in this specific spot. So they've seen this before in this area. And in Souris, a hellhound, that's the northeastern coastline for those of you who are unaware, at 11:40 p.m. on April the 19th. This is a sandy trail leading towards the beach. I have been there. Witnesses, this is just one night walker, a large black beast with eyes that reflected a dull amber/red. It was standing on a sand dune. The witness reported a heavy sense of dread and the Oz effect. The creature vanished the moment they moved their phone away. So they were shining their phone on it, and then it just disappeared. And in the Cavendish area, this is the North Shore, this is a Bigfoot. At 10:10 on April 20th, a densely wooded area near the national park boundary, and this is three residents that were visiting, and they were in a private cabin. The group heard heavy bipedal footsteps circling the cabin. When a spotlight was shone through the windows, they saw a massive fur-covered figure approximately 7 to 8 feet tall standing near the woodpile. It didn't flee immediately, and it stared at them for several seconds before bending back into the darkness. And they shared it with the local maritime research group. And in Nova Scotia, on April the 19th at 9:15 p.m., a Bigfoot near the Cape Breton Wreck Cove area, and it was near the power station access road at Wreck Cove. Two utility contractors. Witnesses reported a massive upright figure standing near the tree line. It made a metallic vibration hum that caused both men to feel a sudden wave of dizziness. The creature retreated slowly into the thick brush without breaking eye contact, and they reported it to the Nova Scotia Bigfoot file. And in the Kejimkujik area near the perimeter and Highway 8 at 1:40 on April the 20th, that's AM. This is about 20 minutes from the park. I believe it's up the way that I used to live. And they witnessed, this is just one person, and he witnessed a large muscular canine-like feature was seen leaping across the highway in two massive bounds. The witness described it as having pointed ears and a muzzle too long for a wolf. It did not stop and headed deep into the park interior. The park interior goes on for a long ways there, so yeah. And they reported it to the Dogman file of Nova Scotia. And in Meat Cove, again, another Mothman, and this was at 10:30 p.m. And this was in the cliffs overlooking the water in Meat Cove, and it was for hiking. The group observed a large, dark shape with reflective red eyes perched on a jagged rock. It took flight as they approached and emitted a high-pitched screech that silenced the surrounding forest for several minutes. And they reported it to the social media paranormal group and to the Cross References local lore archives. And in the Red River area, Garlock Mountain area, hellhounds. At 3 a.m. on April the 21st, a remote trail near Garlock Mountain Plateau. This is one person. It was a trail camera technician. While checking gear, the witness saw a pitch black dog larger than a Great Dane standing in the middle of the trail. It did not growl, but stared until the witness backed away. The person reported a feeling of sudden, inexplainable cold air in the immediate vicinity. And they reported it to the Dogman/Cryptid database, 2026. In Quebec, in the last 48 hours, in Saint-Zenon, so Par-du-Chute area, April the 19th at 10:45 p.m., a Dogman, heavily wooded trail leading towards the falls. Two hikers, so I'm not really sure if people are really down that far towards the falls. They were in the area, is what it says. The witness spotted a massive canine-like creature that appeared to be watching them from a bipedal stance behind a cluster of trees. They reported a distinct soul-reading feeling and an overwhelming sensation that the creature knew their intentions. It did not approach, but vanished into the shadows when they shone their flashlight. Well, I guess they were looking for flooding, these people. They said they were out just looking at the waterways. I don't think they were down that far. And they reported it to the Dogman file. And in the Chickasha Mountains of the Gaspésie region, a Bigfoot at 2:30 a.m. on April 20th, a remote elevation near a logging road near the Gaspé region. One forestry worker. And what he experienced was a deep emotional download that was reported. The witness was sitting in their truck, and when they felt a sudden, unprofound sense of calm and a warning. Outside, they saw a large, dark figure, approximately 8.5 feet, standing near the tree lines. The witness claimed they heard a voice in their head saying, "Not here, keep moving." And they reported it to a private paranormal research group and to the Quebec 2026 Bigfoot file. And in the James Bay region, a Mothman at 11:50 on April 20th, near the coast line of James Bay, 3 hunters, a large winged figure was seen gliding low over the water. The hunter described it as having glowing red eyes that seemed to pulse each time with a low frequency hum that they felt in their chest. It did not flap its wings, but moved with incredible speed against the wind. Interesting. And they reported it to the local community elders. And in the Rimouski area, a hellhound. Haven't had Rimouski on here before. At 12:05 on April the 21st, and that's AM, field bordering the woods south of Rimouski. And this is a farmer. A farmer reported a beast-like wolf, but with a larger than a pony, he said, standing near the livestock gates. It had mangy, pitch-black fur and yellow-orange eyes. It did not attack the cattle, but seemed to be patrolling the boundaries. When the farmer fired a warning shot, the creature didn't run. It simply faded out of sight as if it were a smoke-like mist. And they reported it to the local animal control. And in Ontario, because there's been so much flooding lately, everybody in Ontario, I remember those days. And this is in the Thamesville, Chatham, Kent area, a Bigfoot. And it was at 11:30 on April the 19th, a heavily wooded area near the Thames River. And it was two local residents. The witnesses reported a creature standing approximately 8 feet tall with cinnamon-colored hair. It was observed standing motionless near the riverbank before letting out a vocalization described as hollow metallic bark. This follows a string of incredible reports in the deep southwestern corridor. And it was reported to the Bigfoot Mapping Project and to the Ontario 2026 Cryptids. And in the Algonquin area, a dogman near the perimeter. Highway 60 corridor near the west gates of the park. Well, there's a lot of flooding up there. I was talking to one of my friends, so I think they're limited on their space unless they want to use hip waders. And it was a long haul trucker. And what he witnessed was a massive wolf like figure standing on two legs. It was seen in the headlights of the truck. The witness stated that the creature was scavenging near a deer carcass, but didn't run when the truck approached. It simply melted into the darkness of the trees. And they reported it to the Dogman 2026 file. And in Sudbury, the Nickel Belt area, a hellhound. At 12:45 a.m. on April 21st, near an abandoned mining site south of the city. It's quite common in this one. 3 urban explorers. The group reported being followed by a pitch black canine with amber eyes that seemed to be glowing throughout the light source. They described the atmosphere as becoming oppressively heavy and cold as the creature paced them from within the shadows of the machinery. And they shared it with local paranormal forums. And in the Niagara Escarpment area, a spider humanoid. So it was at 3:10 a.m. on April the 21st. This is a rock outcrop near the Bruce Trail. 2 night hikers, a pale, multi-limbed figure seen scuttling vertically up the limestone cliff face. The witness described the movement as completely unnatural and silent. It vanished into a crevice before they could get a clear photo. And they reported it to crawler/spider humanoid sighting database. And in Manitoba, Fisher Branch Interlake region, this is a Bigfoot at 10:20 p.m. on April the 19th, a densely wooded area east of Fisher Branch. 2 local residents. The witnesses reported a large, hairy figure standing 8 feet tall. It was observed near a clearing, exhibiting rock-throwing behavior towards a nearby creek to get their attention. The creature retreated into a deeper bush, and they directed the flashlight towards it, but They couldn't find it. So they followed it with a flashlight and it just vanished on them. And they reported it to the Manitoba file. And the Norway House, the Nielsen River area, this is a Mothman. This is at 11:45 p.m. on April the 20th. Near the ferry crossing area on the Nielsen River. This is a security worker. He was working nights, and a large dark silhouette with a wingspan estimated 9 to 10 feet was seen gliding silently over the riverbank. The witness noted large glowing orbs where the eyes should be. It did not make a sound, but caused a sudden intense feeling of impending dread in the witness, and he reported it to a local community log. And in the Sandy Bay / Lake Manitoba shoreline area, a dog man at 2:20 in the morning on April the 21st, so that's AM. And this is a marshy perimeter area near a town site. And this is 2 night patrols. Security people. Security reported seeing a massive bipedal canine with matted fur moving through the tall grass. It moved with a hunched walk before dropping to all fours to accelerate into the tree line. This follows recent local tensions regarding nuisance animals in the area, and they reported it to the Dogman 2026 file. And in the White Shell Provincial Park area at 1:10 a.m. on April the 21st, near the ancient Petroforum site, and this is 3 stargazers. The group reported a large shadow dog that seemed to lack physical form, described as walking smoke. Interesting analogy. It circled their campsite from a distance of 30 yards. The witnesses noted that the local wildlife, crickets, owls, etc., went completely silent for 20 minutes while the entity was present, and they reported it to the private paranormal research group. And that's it for Manitoba. We're going to move on to Saskatchewan. And in the St. Louis area, south of Prince Albert, this is the Skinwalker. At 11:15 p.m. on April 19th, the old abandoned rail lines near St. Louis, this is the north area, 3 thrill seekers, while tracking the ghost train lights, the witnesses reported a light splitting into 3 distinct orbs. One orb approached within 20 yards and shifted into a humanoid shape that mimicked the height and clothing of one of the witnesses before vanishing. And they reported it to the Saskatchewan file under the St. Louis Lights and Skinwalker criteria. In Hauser, West Central, there was a dog man at 11 p.m. on April 19th, the perimeter of a local business near the gravel access roads. And this is one person via surveillance footage plus local RCMP tips. Surveillance captured a large, dark figure was moving behind the parked equipment. While law enforcement was scanning for missing persons in the area, multiple tips described a massive wolf that moved with unnatural speed across the fields. Up at the top of this, it's saying there was 2 of them, so I'm not getting factual information on that one. I don't know whether there was 2 of them that were seen in the area, Dogman, or 1. And they reported it to the local business security, and it was cross-referenced with the RCMP as unusual animal tips. And in the Boreal Fringe, Bigfoot. At 3:45 a.m. on April 20th, a dense brush near the Torch River, 2 night fishermen. The witnesses reported a heavy splash in the river, followed by a series of high-pitched whistles, and a large, dark-furred creature, approximately 7.5 feet, was seen pulling itself out of the water and moving into the brush. They noted the creature had a cone-typed head and very long arms. And they shared that with the Saskatchewan-based Cryptid research group. And in Rural, the Southern Plains area, Hellhound, at 1:30 a.m. on April the 21st, open field near the Old Dog River filming location. Witness noticed a demon dog with yellow eyes was reported sitting perfectly still in the middle of a grid road. As the witness approached in their vehicle, the dog did not move until the last second, when it dissolved into a black mist that passed through the car. The car's electronics flickered momentarily. I would love to follow this person for a while and see how their health is and how their sleep patterns are. And they reported it to the cryptid file. And in Alberta, which I was out today at the canyon looking, did not see anything, but I did speak to some people. At 1:15 a.m. on April 20th, and this is in the Horse Thief Canyon area of Drumheller, there was a dogman. The lower plateau north of the main canyon outlook. And it says 2 local residents / campers. Well, I can tell you now that there's a lot of, like everywhere, homeless people. No wonder with the economy the way it is. And they are living out there, some of these people, because they've been removed from in town. And they were the ones that seen it. The witnesses reported a soul reading event. A large bipedal creature with a canine head and pointed ears was seen standing on the ridge, overlooking their camp. They described an intense feeling of being judged or scanned mentally before the creature let out a low, vibrating growl and moved towards the riverbed on all fours. And they reported it to the Dogman 2026 file. And I know that was factual because I was out there today. And on the David Thompson Highway, a Bigfoot. At 10:40 on April 20th, heavy timbered ridge area near Abram Lake. One person, this is a backcountry photographer, a large dark-furred humanoid was seen moving through the heavy timbers. The witness reported a sudden drop in ambient noise, the Oz effect, followed by a loud single wood knock that resonated through the valley. The photographer felt a strong push to leave the area immediately, and it was just noted in the cryptid logs. In Kananaskis Bow River Valley Corridor, a hellhound. At 12:05 a.m. on April 21st, near the Elbow Lake trailhead, 2 night hikers reported a monstrous black dog with matted fur and glowing yellow eyes sitting in the middle of the trail. The creature did not move as they approached with their flashlights, but as they backed away, it faded into a mist, rather than running. They noted a metallic smell of ozone in the air immediately after it vanished, and they reported it to the Kananaskis Emergency Dispatch as a predatory animal concern. In the Edmonton area, North Saskatchewan River area, at 3:30 a.m. on April the 21st, River Valley Parkland near the southwest perimeter, and this is 3 night shift workers. The group reported seeing what looked like a distorted deer that stood up on its hind legs and began to run with a jerky mechanical gait. They stated it looked like a human wearing a pelt, but the movement and speed were impossible for a person, and they reported it to the local community watch group. And in British Columbia next, in the Pitt Lake area, there's always things. And this is a Mothman. At 11:22 p.m. on April the 19th, 2 local researchers, what they saw was a large winged figure with glowing red eyes was seen perched atop a rocky ledge. The witnesses reported a high-pitched oscillating humming that coincided with the entity taking flight, and they reported it to the BC Spirit File. And in the Cranbrook Mount Baker Hotel corridor, a Bigfoot. April the 20th at 2:45 a.m., the perimeter of the wooded area behind the historic hotel sector, and it was a night security guard. A massive upright figure, approximately 8 feet, was spotted moving between the shadows of the outbuildings. The witness reported a feeling of a sudden heaviness in the air. The figure did not vocalize, but moved with a heavy, silent fluidity that the witness felt was not just an. And they reported it to the private research area in Cranbrook. And in Westminster, near the BC Penitentiary Gatehouse, a dogman at 1:10 a.m. on April the 21st. And this is near the historic gatehouse structure. 3 participants in a late night paranormal walk witnessed bipedal canine silhouette that was standing near the old holding cell area. The witness reported hearing a distinct sound of a barking dog that seemed to come from empty air, followed by the sighting of a large, dark figure moving towards the wood line on two legs, and they reported it to the Haunted History BC investigators and to the Dogman File 2026. And in Tumbler Ridge, a hellhound at 12:50 a.m. on April 21st. And this is at a park, I guess. It just says one person, a pitch black wolf like entity with burning yellow eyes, was seen sitting near a park bench. As the witness approached in a vehicle, the hound stood up, reached a height of nearly 5 feet at its shoulders, and shimmered before vanishing into a mist like state. And they reported it to the BC Spirit File. And in the Northwest Territories, Yellowknife and the Yukon, in Hunker Creek, Klondike region, a Bigfoot. At 11:45 p.m. on April 19th, Forested Valley near the old Pacer Gold mining claims. And this is 2 local people. The witnesses reported a towering mountain beast that was larger than a grizzly but moved with an eerie human-like posture. It was seen scavenging near the creek. The miners reported sudden, heavy silence in the air, the Oz effect, shortly before the sighting, and they reported it to the private Yukon Cryptid Registry. And in Whitehorse Perimeter, a dogman, on April the 20th at 2:30 a.m., trail system south of the city near the Yukon River. And this is one late-night cyclist. A bipedal canine was seen pacing the cyclist from within the tree lines. The witness described the creature as having matted dark fur and eyes that reflected dim moonlight. It did not track but kept pace for nearly 500 meters before leaping away into the brush with impossible speeds. And they reported it to the Dogman 2026 file. And in the Nanny Valley near Mile Gorge, a hellhound. April 20th at 1:10 a.m. near the hot springs, Rapid Kettle Hot Springs. 3 backcountry researchers. The group reported the massive white-furred wolf-like being. It was seen standing perfectly still near the stream. The witnesses described a feeling of absolute dread and reported that the entity seemed to shimmer or vibrate in its place before disappearing as the temperature dropped suddenly. And they reported it to the Nanny Valley Guardian Cryptid File. And in Yellowknife, a Mothman at 10:50 p.m. in the rocky outcrops of Delta Access Road. 2 witnesses, they were local residents. A large winged figure was seen gliding over the Great Slave Lake shoreline. The witnesses noted pulsing red eyes and stated that their vehicle's radio began emitting static as the entity passed overhead. And they reported it to the social media community group and noted in the Yellowknife registry. And in the Mackenzie Mountains, a spider humanoid, high elevation ridge near the Yukon Northwest Territory border. This is a remote weather station technician, 1 person. Surveillance footage, night vision, captured a pale, multi-jointed humanoid crawling vertically up a sheer rock face. The movement was described as mechanically and fluid, like a spider. The entity reached the top of the ridge and vanished into the crevice. And they reported it to the crawler/spider humanoid database. And that is it for Canada. I'm going to do one on the United States. Thank you for listening. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.